Red River. Written by Jeremy Orlando. Narrated by Tony Robinson. For Louise, Ellie, and Izzy. He had calculated in the years since the event that he had posed for over 200 photos and had 112 kisses on the cheek. There were also the 131 handshakes, and at least 62 requests to take his shirt off. He had been offered his own float at the Spring Festival the same year, interviewed on TV, radio, and by the newspaper, both local and state. Not bad for a guy who cut hair for a living. Stick that up your jumper, Paul Newman. It was around midnight, and Joe Brewster sat alone in the darkness. The street lights down this end of town hadn't been working for the past week. There had been phone calls to the local council to complain, to request, and then, around day 4, he had given up. In the past this would have bothered him, pricked his skin like a hot needle, but not now. He had spent a good portion of the night trying to convince himself that nothing mattered. Not the darkness, nor the shattered glass that polluted the crumbling footpaths down this end of the town. The grim reality for Joe Brewster, as much as he tried to deny it, was that everything mattered. The plastic bottles washed up on the front beach, the farmers with heads down as they stood outside the local bank. None of it went unnoticed. Reality, as Joe Brewster saw it, was rarely grim. But events had taken a turn for the worse. This town, and everything in it, were like a decaying tooth. He hated the dentist. Always had. He didn't enjoy sitting here alone, but it felt like the punishment that he deserved. It was the Catholic schoolboy in him talking. He knew that, and there was no getting rid of it. The bastards! Alone was something he had never been good at, and he wasn't much better at lonely, either in a physical or metaphysical sense. After tonight, he told himself, it wouldn't matter. But lying to himself had become more difficult with age. JB's cuts would be no more, and whether he liked it or not, it would continue to matter. It would continue to hurt until the day he turned up his toes. People in towns like this were remembered for their undoing, their failures more than anything else, and putting it down to some kind of tall poppy syndrome wasn't the answer they deserved. The 3 now cracked orange vinyl chairs that had rarely been empty, well, at least until 3 summers ago, would be discarded with the morning light. He still didn't want to believe this was happening to him. The movie posters had all been taken down. He was a film nut. He had taken Cy to the drive-in at least once a week for as long as he could remember. She had never had the stamina to make it through 2 films, and when she was awake, she asked far too many questions. There was magic in that light that shone on that big white canvas. It was the only way he could describe it. Westerns and horror movies were his favourites, and that poster of the 7th Seal that had once hung behind the counter had been the last poster to come down. There had been a time when he had imagined his father's face staring back at him, those pursed lips trying to find just the right words to admonish his wayward son. He had idolized his father at times out of all proportion, but those memories of his father refusing to lay down in the face of illness had affected him more profoundly than any
Sample complete. Ready to continue?